Have you ever thought about the population of Butte, Montana being 3 times it is today? Or have you ever thought about the city of Butte being as packed and chaotic as it is on the 4th of July every day?
Well, this is what the city of Butte, Montana looked like around the year 1920 during Butte's mining boom. This mining boom brought thousands and thousands of miners from all over the world to Butte, Montana, seeking the treasures they had been hearing about.
With all these people coming to the city of Butte, Montana, seeking riches, their first move was to find a job.
The town of Butte, Montana was owned and operated by the Anaconda Mining Company. They produced 30% of the nation's copper and 10% of the world's. This is where most miners would seek and find a job.
With the increasing demand for copper, the workers saw their workload increase as well. Their wages stayed the same, and their working conditions began to decrease.
With the working conditions becoming less and less important to the companies employing the miners saw a huge disaster break out in 1917.
After the disaster, the miners decided to go on strike. This is where we see Frank Little came to Butte.
Frank Little was known for fighting for strikes. In this case, he wanted to do whatever he felt necessary to win this strike from the miners of Butte.
Speculator mine, scene of Butte's worst disaster. On June 8, 1917, fire caused by a faulty electric cable broke out in the spec shaft. Before it was over, 164 men were killed by suffocation. Compensation to families was $4,000 for the life of each miner. The tragedy was one of the most disastrous in the history of all quartz mining. The bloodiest date in Butte labor history is August 1st, 1917. The industrial workers of the world were making headway organizing miners in wake of the speculator fire. Top organizer was Frank Little. Early in the morning of August 1st, 1917, gunmen broke into Little's room, tied him behind an automobile, and dragged him 2 miles down Butte Hill to the flats. His body was left hanging from a railroad trestle. Little's funeral was one of the largest ever held in Butte. There were 2,500 participants. Butte is a city of death. Butte is not quite 100 years old, yet her cemeteries contain far more headstones than her present population. The price paid in human lives for the 300 million tons of copper ore that have been torn from the stubborn Montana rock has been incredibly high.
On July 19th, Frank made his first of many speeches inspiring his fellow miners to keep up the strikes. This drew him a lot of negative attention from the Anaconda Company.
Although what Frank was doing was seen as good by a lot of people, the Anaconda Company only saw him as a threat to their business.
In the early morning of August 1st, 1917, 6 masked men broke into Frank Little's hotel room. They drug him out of his bed in nothing but his underwear to a waiting car. Frank Little's body was found hours later, hanging from a railroad trestle. The coroner found that Frank Little had been savagely beaten and dragged behind a car until his kneecaps had nearly been scraped completely off. This note was found with Frank Little's body, and the 3777 are the dimensions of a Montana grave. Many people believe that the Anaconda Company was responsible for the death of Frank Little. This was certainly not the first person they had killed, and it would not be the last. Frank Little's funeral was the most impressive in the history of Butte, with over 7,000 people following his funeral. He will always be remembered for standing up for the rights of others and inspiring his fellow men.